Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So yeah, today we're going to be looking at the homunculi, and yeah, something else that I wanted to look at more, cause I know Ia had those, had them as like bodyguards in Unlimited Blade Works, but I think the original Fate Stay Night, I think I probably saw I gotta look back, but I think Unlimited Blade Works was where I saw him the most, and at least really their actual backstory sort of too, like why they were made or something like that, and where they were kept. Well, I don't know exactly where they were kept, but pretty much like deep under the castle or whatever. But yeah, just learn more about homunculi, and then currently now I'm looking at Fate Apocrypha. So yeah, that'll definitely help me out because I just now am seeing a homunculi, like he escaped or whatever, and just be good to know like how weak or fragile they really are, because I know like really they do have pretty much a good amount of power or strength. It's just they haven't been trained to do that. Like they can barely walk as if they're like a newborn baby or whatever, but they do have like the magic circuits, or at least the power to at least break free from that what chamber or whatever he was in. But let's just see what's going to happen here, or what he's going to talk about here. So if you guys will enjoy this, make sure you like, subscribe, and let's get this reaction started.
Took what they gave me, did all the favors, they never repay me. It worked in my favor, cause nobody.
Brand new whip, got no keys. Tell them my clothes, no starch, please. Soon as you can go leave. Got M's in the bank like yes, indeed. Cartier glasses, I won't even peek at you. Yellow Ferrari like Pikachu. I got him waiting and watching what he gon' do. Tryna pee what I do, tryna steal my move. 2500 for a new pair of tennis shoes, the same price.
In our previous lesson, I spoke of reality marbles, the
Yep,
realization of the
reality
mage or
marbles.
servant's mental landscape. They are certainly one of the more extraordinary aspects of the craft, and for contrast, it is time to cover something more mundane, yet no less significant. Of course, I refer to the creation of homunculi. While the deepest depths of alchemy are primarily studied within the Atlas Institute, certain mage families apply the craft in its basic application of manipulating the flow of matter. One aspect of this happens to be the creation of life without the need for a womb, using sperm and various elements as a foundation. In some ways, this is most controversial. Homunculi are very much alive, but depending on the methods used to create them, their existences have various limitations placed upon them. As such, to many mages, they are seen as subhuman, unworthy of the same treatment granted to biological humans, which for mages is already questionable as is. Thus, we have plenty to discuss, from the creation and application of homunculi to their ethics. Simply put, a homunculus is a being created through alchemy rather than sexual reproduction, though the matter is certainly more complex. Similar to golems, homunculi can be either basic or increasingly human,
I never seen
depending on
that
the
type of
skill and
golem
technique
before.
used to make them. Oftentimes,
Just
the
the
goal is to
ones with
perfect
like
the craft,
skeletons
but
and
every
or
ideal
that
homunculus
looks like
typically emerges
skeletons.
after significant trial and error, resulting in some that appear to be no more than mindless monsters. Even the most human-like homunculi tend to have at least one debilitating flaw, a cost of sorts for their birth through artificial means.
Okay.
These defects can range from diminutive stature, limited intelligence, and an inability to reproduce. Most commonly, however, a homunculus's greatest flaw is a short lifespan. The age depends on the type of homunculus, but some may only live as long as a couple of months or years.
So it doesn't
The
matter,
idea of
like
any
they're
one
gonna have
homunculus surviving more than 2
short
decades
life
is
hit
but a pipe dream.
regardless.
Part of this comes from the basic philosophy of making homunculi. They are frequently made for the incredible magic circuits they possess. As such, rather than artificial humans grown to have magic circuits, homunculi are thought of as magic circuits crafted into a human form. The main incentive for making one human isn't necessarily to grant life. Rather, a living magic circuit proves to be far more useful, capable of protecting itself with limited autonomy. Because of this, even while looking human, homunculi are only as intelligent and autonomous as they need to be. Much of their brains are developed at the time of their creation, with no need to mature over many years like actual humans. A homunculus may look adult and composed, and yet only be a couple of years old. Much of their intelligence comes at birth, with many homunculi being born pre-programmed to serve a certain function, at least in theory. Others are made as a completely blank slate, with a naive child's mind. While this makes them easy to coerce, their development can often stray down a dark path. This is not to say a homunculus cannot develop a sense of self, a will of their own. Rather, such a phenomenon is often undesirable or inconvenient for the mages who make them. This is where ethics come into play. Is it in any way acceptable to create life for ulterior motives and expectations? Compared to familiars, homunculi have a higher degree of sentience, and yet some mages treat them the exact same. They are used as instruments and later disposed of as junk. Any that are considered
because
failures
that's
are scrapped before they
literally
even have a
what
chance
they
to live
are.
their brief lives or serve
If
their
it's just
function.
magic
Even
circuits
worse,
formed
they
into
are
like a
born
human
not to
body,
value
then
their own
I
will,
mean,
leading many to never
I'm not
consider
saying they
themselves
should
to
be
have
treated
autonomy.
that way, but
While
I'm just
homunculi
saying if
normalize
that's
this
all they
behavior,
are,
making
then
them even
of
easier
course
to
they're gonna
exploit,
be
some say their abuse is wrong because
treated that
when given
way.
a glimpse of freedom, a taste of their potential, homunculi embrace the will to live and survive for their own sake. Thankfully, plenty of mages aren't even capable of creating homunculi. The Tosaka family, for instance, lacks the necessary alchemic knowledge.
Oh, they
Still, there
okay.
are quite a few examples of notable homunculi in the mages that created them.
But except
Most
the
famously are the Einsburn
I was,
homunculi.
yeah,
This family
Einsburns,
is most
yeah,
interesting because over
they
time,
definitely
the
have
family
enough,
heirs actually became
or they can
homunculi.
at least
They
make
propagate
them.
more of themselves in an effort to perfect their form, and some 200 years ago they succeeded with the homunculus Justiz Liedrich von Einsburn.
Yeah, they got plenty
She
of
was
them down
influential
there.
for being exceptionally human-like, sharing the Einsburns' desire to reclaim their lost magic of Heaven's Field.
Yeah, plenty of them with
In
like
that effort, she used
weapons
her own
inside
body
them.
as
I
the
don't
base
know
for Fuyuki's Greater Grail.
what's up with
Having
that,
reached a
but
pinnacle achievement,
yeah, they got like
all newer
swords and stuff
Einsburn
inside their
homunculi were
bodies,
created
but they're
using
still
Justiz
alive.
as a model. The presumed benefit of this process was so that subsequent homunculi could inherit a record of her consciousness, understanding her ambitions and pain intrinsically. One of these Justiz-type homunculi was sighted during the Third Holy Grail War, meeting her end in the conflict. This forced the family to confront its weakness, that in exchange for their alchemic prowess, able to grow impressive
Okay, I was trying to
specimens,
see
they
if that
lacked a
was
significant
about to
fighting
spoil me,
force.
cause I'm like, hold up.
Thus, to gain a competitive edge
Well, it
for the
might have
Fourth
did
Holy
just
Grail
spoil
War,
me for
the family
Apocrypha,
sought
but
help from a foreign magus, Kiritsugu Emiya, and created a new homunculus to
yeah, I
assist
don't
him.
think
She was
I've
developed
seen
to
her
be a
yet.
fully functioning human who could serve as the Lesser Grail's vessel. In other words, a living grail of sorts. This homunculus, Irisfeel, was to help Kiritsugu in winning the Grail War, and yet, when she emerged from her tube, she lacked a fundamental understanding of the world, prompting Kiritsugu to doubt her abilities. She was cast into the forest as a trial, which only frustrated Kiritsugu more, so he rescued her and personally taught her of the modern world. Over 9 years, she absorbed his lessons and began to provide her own insights. She had become her own person, earning Kiritsugu's affection. Naturally, this was not a love that could last. For Kiritsugu to win the Grail War, Irisfeel would have to be sacrificed. Airi did not wish to leave Kiritsugu alone through her demise, and proposed conceiving a child to provide him hope for the future. Thus, Irisfeel became the very first homunculus to give birth as a human mother. This gave her life purpose and fulfillment that none had anticipated. Entrusting the future to her husband, Irisfeel fought valiantly in the war, ultimately transforming into the Grail's vessel in her death. Her daughter, Iliasfeel, was expected to grow up
That
under
is still
Kiritsugu's
kind of
care,
weird
but
to
since he
me.
rejected the Grail, effectively betraying
Giving
the
birth
Einsburns, he was
with
barred
a
from their manor.
9-year-old
As such, Ilia
homunculi,
was raised to
even
be a
though she
competitor
is
and Grail
kind
vessel
of
for the Fifth War that would
adult-like,
begin 10 years later.
kind of like what 30
This
years
was a perilous
oldish.
process. Even in Airi's
But,
womb, Ilia was put through magical experiments and modifications to improve
I mean,
her
yeah, if it's
potential as
just
a mage. Denied access to her father, she was further processed, incurring
yeah, get the
horrible
child
wounds and
to
cuts in an effort to expand
not
her
leave
magic circuits.
Kiritsugu by
As a
himself.
result, Ilia
Yeah,
became
just
immensely
might as well, I
powerful at the
guess.
expense of her childhood, well-being, and physical growth. Despite being in her
But
late
yeah,
teens,
actually,
Ilia's body is
yeah,
stuck
that's
in a
something I
pretty
wanted to
pubescent
know
stage.
too.
No matter what fate awaits
That
her
I
in the
never
Fifth
really
Grail
thought
War,
of.
her
Like, yeah,
brief
now that
life
I'm
will
thinking
end
about it, yeah,
just years
something
later.
I want to
Ultimately,
know
however,
is,
Ilia was considered a tremendous success.
yeah, what happened with
Her to have been
Irisville?
born between a homunculus mother
Because I
and a
know
human
she
father.
was
Over the Einsburns'
made
history,
specifically
a myriad
for
of
the
other
Grail, yeah.
attempts to make superior homunculi were made,
But
and
yeah,
none
she
of
was a
them could match her.
homunculi as
Two
well.
of these failures were the homunculi Liesrit and Sella. They were spared
Oh yeah, I
from
know
being
them,
scrapped
yeah.
in order to serve as Ilia's bodyguard and
Those
teacher,
were the
respectively.
bodyguards.
Liesrit in particular was modified to protect Ilia.
The bodyguards that got
Combat
taken
prowess at the
out
cost of her ego.
in
While
less
there
than
is
2
definitely a
minutes,
person
bro.
beyond her blank gaze, she is socially inept. Treated as an instrument, Liesrit's final task is to one day transform into the Dress of Heaven, a precious Einsburn mystic code needed to
The
realize
Dress of
Heaven's
Heaven.
feel. Sella, on the other hand, was spared such fate, instead maintaining her intellect for the sake of Ilia's tutelage. In a completely separate context, the Einsburns created a homunculus named Philia to represent them in the false Holy Grail War. She managed to summon the true berserker Humbaba, and her body was ultimately possessed by the goddess Ishtar. Mirroring this idea of homunculi recreating themselves, we have Koharu F. Riedenfloss, the family representative in the Holy Grail War tournaments. The Riedenfloss family excels in creating homunculi, and Koharu is one of their creations. Naturally, from success comes envy, and thanks to the fame of Einsburn homunculi, other mage families try to replicate their theories. One such family is the Yggdrasil Millennia, more specifically their adopted alchemist Gord Muzik. He uses techniques stolen from the Einsburns to create homunculi that pale in comparison. Rather than quality, Gord focuses on quantity, creating a massive army of short-lived homunculi.
Yeah, you don't care about the quality.
In the Great Grail War, or are consumed as a source of mana.
Well, I'm pretty sure he cares about that now, because he made a pretty perfect one, right? That knows how to retaliate.
So far as to name one of them,
Yeah,
too.
my boy gonna go
While
crazy
he
in a
acknowledges his
second. And
inferiority, he knows his
Apocrypha.
creations can still serve a purpose despite their flaws. Problem is, that purpose comes at their own expense. Through actual case study, it is impossible to deny that these homunculi suffer when killed on the battlefield or absorbed for their mana. The most potent of
Oh,
these
I haven't seen that.
homunculi is
Oh,
Seed,
yeah, that's their
who is
teeth? Hold
physically
up.
weak, but has magic
Yeah, their
circuits built
eyes
enough
and...
to serve as the
Oh,
core of a
I don't think I've seen
Golden
that yet,
Keter
yeah.
Malkuth. Before this became his fate, however, Sieg was able to break free of his tube and escape the Yggdrasil Millennia castle. Even though he and his fellow homunculi were mass-produced to have limited individuality, Sieg could sense the suffering of his kin, and took to the war as a master in order to liberate them. Mages such as Gord are lucky that the association has no legislation on the fair treatment of homunculi, and that society at large doesn't know of their existence at all. Society does have legends, however, detailing the achievements and horrors of famous mages described throughout history. Included among them, we cannot help but mention one of the fathers of alchemy, Paracelsus von Hohenheim. During the Renaissance period, Paracelsus
I guess I'll call him
researched
von
both medicine
Hohenheim.
and alchemy.
That's
Popularizing
that
his
sounds the
findings to
easiest to
such an extreme
remember,
that he
even
was
though it's
assassinated
the
to keep
longest.
craft from entering mainstream awareness.
Von
As a
Hohenheim,
heroic
yep.
spirit, Paracelsus can create miniature homunculi of himself, made to follow specific tasks
Or
rather
just
than think
Hohenheim, I
freely.
guess.
Then there is the monster of Victor Frankenstein.
Oh, Frankenstein,
a unique
yeah.
homunculus created to be an artificial incarnation of the biblical Eve. Her creator had bizarre expectations for her, considering she consisted of patched-up flesh given life through lightning. What should have been a story of success turned to tragedy as Victor saw his creation as a naive abomination.
You already know
He
about
did
that
nothing to teach
story.
her, and so she had the mind of an infant. She lacked a moral compass because he refused to provide one. In that sense, he truly did create a monster. Yet, after being abandoned, the girl chased after him and, in doing so,
Yep.
learned of complex emotions. Most of all, she learned of love, and held Victor responsible for providing her with a mate. Her request was earnest, and still she was denied until they both found death. As a heroic spirit, Frankenstein's monster considers herself separate from the homunculi of the modern era, incompatible with the mate she coveted in life.
So she's a
Is she being
homunculi as
shallow in this
well.
regard? Such a complicated matter is bound to be resolved through equally complex emotions. Perhaps, ultimately, love cares not for such restrictions. As an instructor of Magecraft, however, I hardly have the right to comment. While the literary work of Faust introduces Mephistopheles as a cynical demon, in truth, the wicked figure is an advanced homunculus created by Dr. Faust himself. In contrast to Frankenstein, Faust actually cared for his own creation, only to have that compassion betrayed. Faust is suspected to have been killed in a bombing incident caused by Mephistopheles. As with all conscious beings, the development of an ego must be carefully nurtured, else one grows to consider others toys for their amusement. My personal favorite homunculus happens to be Mordred, the clone of King Arthur. In an attempt to sabotage her sister's reign, the witch Morgan Le Fay infiltrated the king's chamber and absconded with her seed.
Okay, I did
Used
not know
Victoria's genetic
that.
legacy to create a homunculus she could manipulate into sparking rebellion. The result was Mordred, who greatly resembled Britain's
She's a-
king. Again, however, she was not reared
Okay,
with
so
compassion, instead
you
taught
might as
by
well
Morgan
just
to
tell
hate
me
her
everybody
king.
else who's
Despite this,
who's a
Mordred
homunculi.
developed her own emotions, which included an admiration for Victoria.
What?
Sadly, this is an admiration that ultimately turned against her. Unable to obtain her father's approval, Mordred inevitably carried out Morgan's will regardless, as her rebellion ended with both the king's death and hers. Even more tragic is that,
Yeah,
as a
because I know
result
I
of
got
her
it
rapid
mixed
growth,
up because I
Mordred
thought
was fated to
what
die
they meant by
before long
King
regardless.
Arthur. I didn't know they
With all
literally
these
meant
things
King
considered,
Arthur.
it's
Like,
intriguing to look at how the
I was
Atlas
just thinking
Institute handles
Artoria,
homunculi.
but not
In
like,
worlds
was
containing
it
the
Arthur
Moon Cell, mana
Pendragon?
is scarce, and Magecraft fades in prominence. Thus,
So,
instead of
yeah.
developing homunculi with circuits able to channel mana,
But
Atlas uses a
I
cloning
did not
process to
know
create them with
Mordred.
circuits capable of manipulating the moon cell's virtual world. We've discussed her before, but the most iconic of these Atlas homunculi is Rani the Eighth, created by Selim Eltna Riatlasia to carry on humanity's legacy in a cyber world. Due to this, she is not made from organic matter, but rather nano-sized fibers of ether light with intelligence fostered to rival the moon cell's own AI. Finally, we have a homunculus who is not thought of as a lesser being, but rather mankind's advancement into the future. In summation,
the advancement into the
homunculi are
future.
living beings created not through sexual reproduction, but rather the alchemic fusing of
Yeah,
genetic
alchemy.
materials with other resources to create artificial life. Due to the difficulty in mastering this art, most homunculi emerge with significant defects, leading mages to see them as lesser species despite their powerful magic circuits and often superhuman abilities. I am inclined to include them among all other living creatures of the earth, which ironically means subjecting them to the same inhumane antics as other mages. After all, no living things are spared when a mage disregards common social conventions in favor of wisdom and might. Perhaps to continue discussing the misery of sentient life, our next topic shall be on all manner of curses, including the Celtic Gesh.
Curses. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. So yeah, at least know a little bit more now, cause yeah, I just started to find out, or not find out, but just started to look at more homunculi. So yeah, just good to know. Like yeah, perfect. I literally get to see it like 2 episodes. Yeah, like I saw 2 episodes of Apocrypha, knowing about the homunculi, or at least seeing one in action, really, at least from Apocrypha, you know. But now I get to like really see like, you know, how they're created and all that. And I guess yeah, you really just can't help that short lifespan. So Irisville actually was probably the best. I wouldn't say the strongest, but at least the better one, like in terms of quality, because that's 9 years and she's still alive. The only problem is the Holy Grail War. She was literally made to be a vessel for that grail, so of course she couldn't live as long. But if she wasn't the vessel, I'm pretty sure she would still be able to stay alive by this point, and yeah, wouldn't have had to be like, okay, I don't want to leave Kiritsugu behind or alone, so you know I have to make Ia, you know, because that's apparently yeah what Ataku said, like she didn't want to leave Kiritsugu by himself, so yep, they just made Ia, and Kiritsugu could at least have someone to keep him company who at least has sort of really the splitting image of Irisville's face on her. But yeah, that was pretty much about it. And yeah, good thing I could learn more about Irisville as well, cause really I never even thought of her as a homunculi. I just thought literally just a vessel for the grail, but I never thought like you know, like how she created, you know, like why yeah, why did she only... Oh, no. I'm thinking of the 1 year thing. No, she only had 1 year left or something, I think. Whatever I heard. But, yeah, basically how she created. Because it's like, yeah, she's driving a car and all that. Yeah, learning how to do all that. Even though she didn't go through the proper, like, yeah, training or instructor for that. Just straight doing it, you know... I mean, yeah, someone taught her, but, like, not actual, like, practice, I guess you could say. Like how you would normally do the, practice. But, yeah, like, something like this that's, like, I'm finding, or at least finding out about, like, it being taught about, and it's like I never really would have thought about, like, yeah, how was she created? You know, is she a homunculi as well or something? So, yeah, now I know. It's just those certain things I'm like, yeah, I should have probably thought about it, but yeah, it just never crossed my mind. Like, but then when I eventually see it, then yeah. But this was what I was talking about. Like, yeah, they're still alive. It's just, yeah, have swords and all that inside of them. Actually, you know, I want to see one of these golems in action. Yeah, see how they work. Cause I only seen the ones with like the skeletons, and then the ones with like rocks. Yeah, the ones from Apocrypha. Yeah, those type. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. So Frankenstein, Mort. I'm like, yeah, I did. Yeah, Frankenstein. That makes sense. You know, because I already knew she was created. You know, like a bunch of parts. You know, just put together to make one. But Mordred, I'm like, yo, what? Yeah, that's a homunculi, a pretty strong one too. I can tell that. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna just end it off here. So next, what did he say? Curses. Yeah, we have to see about that. But yo, if you guys did enjoy, make sure you like, subscribe again, and y'all see you guys in the next one.